Hello, my name is Cheryl, and I have been a registered nurse for 39 years. And during my career, I have seen the healthcare industry make some pretty significant strides when it comes to improving safer medication management until I took a couple of courses for injecting cosmetic botulinum toxin. Now, for this presentation, I'm going to use the words Botox and botulinum interchangeably, although Botox is a brand name. I just couldn't believe how archaic the whole process is. And I'm not one for workarounds. I had to find a solution. So this led me to Innovation Factory, and I have received some pretty amazing mentors and ultimately entered a partnership for this venture with Human Scope. They are a product design company. David Snaith is a design engineer and Stephen Copeland an industrial designer, and along with their team, they helped me bring this product to reality. We have a growing advisory board and relationships with other experts that we engage on a contract basis as we need to. The cosmetic Botox industry is young. It was discovered by accident by a couple of doctors, a husband and wife from Vancouver in '87, but it didn't even start to be accepted by the medical community until '93. It kind of hovered for a while, but now it's shooting off like a rocket. In 2016, the market grew to $2.5 billion, and it's projected to be worth over $5.6 billion by 2023. That's 126% growth. Botox's 17 million treatments represents 53% of all facial aesthetic procedures. Now, Botox comes with a little bit of powder on the bottom of the vial, and there is lots of debate about what is best for reconstituting them so that we can actually inject it. In Ontario, we're taught to mix it concentrated or one-to-one. As this industry matures, we are starting to see more research papers and more global consensus that concentrated is better, especially for injecting into smaller muscle groups. Less fluid volume is more comfortable for the patient, especially as there can be over 20 injections during a treatment. And less fluid decreases the incidence of diffusion of the medication into muscles where you just don't want it to go. But concentrated Botox is hard to work with, which makes the practice less appealing for 100% adoption across the world. And it's hard because we have to use these 30-unit syringes so we can see the tiny dosages. It comes with a tiny, soft, fixed needle, and after about 3 or 4 injections, they pinch. So to work around that, we have to drop several syringes per treatment. So the clinician needs to be very organized to keep all the syringes and the injection sites correct. And we can't dull this needle by putting it through the rubber of the vial. So to work around that, you're not going to believe this, but we actually take pliers and completely pry off the metal ring so we can take out the rubber seal. Now, we have to be careful that we don't crack the bottle when we do that. And I've actually knocked it over a couple of times and spilt this very expensive product. And it kind of makes you want to cry. The only thing that is sterile on the syringe is actually the needle and the hub. So when we put our syringe inside the bottle to drop the product, we have to be careful not to contaminate the inside of the bottle. And if we tap it while we're drawing up the product, we've dulled the needle as well. But what really drove me to find a solution is when we're injecting, the plunger sticks. So we have to give it a good push to get it going, but we run the risk of overdosing that area. I imagined a world where I could keep all of this sterile, where I could actually take my pliers and throw them away, well, at least return them to my husband's toolbox. I wanted one device per treatment. I wanted to fill it, dial it, inject it, and that's it. Well, the BTXpen does just that. It removes the hard from working with concentrated Botox, and it has the opportunity to become the gold standard for administering cosmetic botulinum worldwide. So I have my prototype here, and it is quite simple to work with. It requires no setup, no training. It's very light. You can use it left or right-handed, and it actually is designed to feel like current practice. We would just attach a needle, and then we would draw up our total patient dose. Then we would switch the needle for an injection needle, and then for every spot we want to inject, we would dial the precise dose and inject. It's that simple. It has a hard stop, so there's no overdose risk, and it saves both prep and treatment time. The patient's visit is much shorter, and because it's precise, we can expect better outcomes. The target market is trained aesthetic injectors, and 100% of the clinicians we interviewed felt that the BTXpen addressed all of their concerns, and marketing to patients is going to be very important. Patients are younger now when they start to get Botox, in their late 20s and into their 30s. They will probably desire these services for over 30 years, and patients can spend over $2,000 in Botox services in a year. And if they're getting dermal fillers or other treatments, that can more than double. It's a lucrative business, but that's what makes it competitive. So patient retention for a clinic is vital. At the beginning of this project, I had a patent search and a market review done, and there are 4 devices in the world that are specific to cosmetic Botox injections, and none of them are in North America. And I can't explain the reason for that, but in order to get FDA approvals for a syringe, you have to be able to draw back on the plunger to check for blood before injecting the medication. 3 out of 4 of those devices do not have that capability. But really, our competition is the basic syringe, and our pen can draw back. I have a mentor, Karen Scraba, who has a wealth of experience in the syringe industry, and she worked with a VP from a syringe company to create our 3-year global projection for conversions from this syringe to our pen. And looking at the US market, for example, by 3 years, we can expect 22% or 1.4 million devices being sold. Both Humanscope and I have financed this venture according to our partnership agreement. And we have some express interest from a custom syringe manufacturer, and we're also connecting with aesthetic distributor networks as they already have connections with clinics. If we sell the pen for $5, a distributor model would give us 45% gross margin, and an e-commerce market 70%, and we would do both. Our prototypes have been just sent to the lab for accuracy testing. We recently completed a freedom to operate and a second patent search, and we have filed our US utility patent and a design patent. We are really close now. Our next round of expenses include machine tooling, FDA and Health Canada approvals, and marketing. Globally, there is no dial-a-dose medication pen in the world that can be filled by the user, so we do have first-to-market advantage. And the cool thing about this technology is we can design different versions for different needs. We did identify 2 future lines of business that the pen could really do well in, but it's very preliminary at this time. We will be seeking subject matter experts and end user input when we are ready to pursue this. But in conversation with veterinarians, they have indicated that there is a need for an injection device that can be used with all types and brands of insulin. Pet owners really do struggle with the whole injection process. So with a little tweak to the BTXpen, we have a pet pen. It can be filled with 100 units of insulin, and the pet owner could use it until it was empty and just change the needle as they need to. So cats typically need between 1 and 3 units of insulin. So say your cat needs 2 units, you would have to use 50 syringes to 1 pet pen. And the pet diabetes market is expected to grow at 5.5% through to 2023. Then there is the self-injectable market. It's the fastest growing and largest market of the 3 markets we've identified today, almost $80 billion, and $20 billion of that is in devices, and none of that can be filled by the user. So for a patient who is really nervous about drawing up and injecting very precise amounts of medication, my pen would be a more cost-effective way to deliver the medication compared to the very expensive auto-injectors and pre-filled syringes. It's just a great alternative to the vial and syringe. Research shows that matching patients with the right injection device can increase treatment adherence. We do have some ideas for pediatrics as well. So for the possibilities for the pen are numerous. The BTXpen is set to disrupt how Botox is administered around the world, and it will become part of global best practice. It has a very exciting future ahead for it. Thank you.